Attention, epic gamers! Welcome back. I am finally back on YouTube. I have made my return, and well, my first video back in I don't know. Has it been a year now on YouTube? I've been doing great on TikTok. I've been so caught up with my card business that I just haven't had any time to do any content on YouTube. So hopefully I can get back into that. And I thought to kind of start things off, I would, get back into making videos, I'd start off by doing a video on Beckett. Now, there's not going to be many cuts in this video. I'm just going to kind of do it raw. And, I'm going to be unfiltered as always. Most of y'all are probably coming over from TikTok. You've seen my lives and stuff, or maybe the Discord. But today we're looking at Beckett and how ass they are at grading. And this isn't going to be a video more on what grades I got necessarily, because Beckett's always extremely tough. And I sent some cards that I was expecting to be easy to grade, but with my experience with Beckett, they don't really like this era of X and Y and stuff for Japanese grading, even though it's still modern and really nice condition and fresh out of the pack. They still don't like grading it. So the video isn't necessarily about the grades I got, but we will be doing a reveal. And I thought I'd do this video because my first card that I pulled out of this box was this Psyduck. And if you notice anything wrong, you're probably like, wow, that's some dust on there. Surely this is on the case and it could just be wiped off. And I thought the same thing at first, but sorry about that, my camera messed up. But if you take a closer look at this, the flakes of dust are inside the case. So you can see it right there, and look, it's inside the case. And I wasn't going to make a video about how bad Beckett is, about literally it's like they sneeze and cough and blow dust and shit all over their cards. But it needs to be made because this is the final straw for me. This is probably the 6th submission in a row I've submitted where the cards are all covered completely in dust. So this is more of a warning to everyone to not use Beckett. I don't know what's happened, but in the last year of me submitting, it's been a complete failure of quality control. And it's not even worth the black label chase at this point because of how bad the cards come back. I've had cards come back with crooked labels and all sorts of problems, but the most prevalent problem is the amount of dust. Look at that. Look at that big particle of dust. Do you see that? And the thing is, some of these look like they're actually on the card, like in the sleeve. As you know, Beckett puts the card in a sleeve and then sonically seals it in the plastic. But some of it looks like it's like that's got to be on the card right there. That dust. And the thing is, well, you'd think, well, maybe I sent it this way. Maybe some of those are on the surface. But the surface got a 10. Also, I pulled these fresh out of the box. Also, I clear off the dust off of all of my cards. So, how did the surface get a 10? And then it gets shipped to me this way. And clearly, some of those are in the slab and not on the card. But some of them are on the card. All right, maybe it's just the Psyduck. All right, let's stop ranting about the Psyduck, okay? I went to the next card in the submission. Bulbasaur. Whoa, those are some big chunks of dust in there. I wonder if they can come off with a towel. No, because they're actually in the card. That piece of dust came off, but the rest are actually, those are actually in the slab and not on, they're not on the slab. They're in the slab. Let's see if I can find one on the surface of the card. It doesn't look like there's any on the surface of the card on this one. Oh my gosh. Look at that big piece of dust. Look, you can clearly see that's in the card. Plus, you see all these scratches and stuff? That's the way they came from Beckett. Now, of course, there's a little bit of micro scratches from me rubbing it really hard right now. From trying to get the dust off that's inside the case. But they sent them scratched, too. Look, you can see there's scratches and stuff. Like, look at this. The card's got a scratch that goes all the way around right here. And these are... Oh, my gosh. Okay, again, Surface 10. Let's see here. That one might actually be on the surface of the card. Okay, that one was outside of the slab. That's in the slab right there. That one might be on... I think that one's on the surface of the card too. You see that? That's in the slab. And look at all the micro scratches on it. And I didn't even put those on it. So I figured I wouldn't have to make this video on why not to grade with Beckett. But the fact that this has happened so many times to me, and it's been confirmed, this is Beckett's fault. They had to fix, I think, like 30 cards for me. I don't know how many it was. It was like 30 cards over 5 submissions that all had these problems. All of them did, and it was Beckett's fault, and they had to fix it for me, and it took almost 6 months of responses, of being left with no response from Beckett and having to wait for their crappy customer service to respond to me. And, yeah, so now this is my last submission I've made to Beckett, by the way. Once I started getting my submissions back and seeing how bad the quality control was, I stopped sending them out. But this is my last submission that's actually come back in since I learned about this. And now that I've officially learned my lesson that Beckett quality control is just non-existent and the Black Label Chase isn't even worth it anymore, yeah, I'm not going to submit to Beckett again. You know, everybody thinks that Beckett's the better option outside of PSA and CGC, and I thought maybe it would be worth it to chase a Black Label on some things, but no. All right, here's another one, 10 surface, but it appears that there is a piece of dust and maybe even a scratch right there on the hollow foil. Are you kidding me? Are you seeing what I'm seeing right now? Are you seeing what I'm seeing right now? Do you see that and that? Those aren't on the case. There's another fingerprint right there and another fingerprint right here. Let me make sure this one isn't mine. That's on the card. They put fingerprints on the card. All right, here's a 10, and this one's not a reverse. Well, it's kind of got the star pattern on it, the reverse-looking type of star hollow. But, you know, I thought, oh, okay, this one doesn't look so bad. And then I flipped it over, and that's when I started this video, because I looked straight up here, and that's on the card. And I didn't look much harder than that on there. Okay, there's a black speck right there, and a white speck that's on the card right there. And what else here? Oh, there's a speck of dust right there. Okay, we're not going to look too hard at these. We're just going to go through, and let's see how many of these have foreign debris inside them from Beckett and closing it in on it. I don't know what kind of process they're having where when they're sealing these, it just fills the slab full of dust. But it does. Okay, here's a beautiful Manaphy. Got a 9 on the centering. I mean, I guess maybe it's a little bit off-centered, but I wouldn't say that's 9 centering. Let's check the back. The back's actually decently centered. Oh, look, there's a, right there. That is a piece of foreign debris inside the slab. Now, if you're paying how much you're paying with Beckett, there's another piece, there's another piece. You would expect that the slabs wouldn't be filled with dust. There's another piece. And I thought recently, I was like, well, maybe I can try Beckett again now that they started their new label system, because I kind of liked it. But nah, it's just it's not gonna happen because they got the same quality control and they didn't update it. All right, let's continue through my shitty stacks of 9.5s of cards that I thought were pretty solid condition. All right, foreign debris right there. What else we got? Oh, no, that's on the slab. Let's wipe it off just to make sure. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's scrape really hard. Make sure that there's not any on it. Right there. That is in the slab. You can see the light right here. Now, yep, that's in the slab. There's a little dot right here, and that's in the slab. You see that right there? I mean, some of these are a little bit nitpicky, but golly, these giant blobs of dust. And there's one right there in the middle of the artwork too. Look at that. I don't know what these shavings are from that they're getting in here, but there's these little specks, and then there's these little curly pieces of dust like that absolutely fill these slabs. All right, we're not going to look as hard on these, but clearly, yep, there's another speck of dust. There's another speck of dust right there. You can kind of see it right there. That's in the slab. All right, let's continue. This is great, dude. I'm so glad to be done with Beckett. And hopefully, if you're thinking about who you should grade with, I know it's been one of my most requested videos ever, is who should I grade with? And yeah, don't grade with Beckett, because clearly they don't care about their quality control or customer service. And by the way, I wasn't smacking these around when I took them out of the box. I literally softly placed them down. And looky here. We've got more extreme scratches. 3 big gashes, look like a bear clawed at it. And we've got some little, oh, you can see more scratches on the slab. Let's look hard at this one. What do we got in here? Something. I think those might be just scratches on the slab. Oh, yeah, they are. There's a little piece of dust just hanging in there. Look at that. I mean, how do you manage to get so much dust in your sleeves? You'd expect if you're a professional grading company to have a room where dust isn't just flying around and getting in the sleeves. But look, that is in the, it's just chilling right there. You don't like a little dust with your sleeve, huh? All right, let's look at the back. Yeah, there's some more scratches on here. Pretty good amount of scratches. Oh, that's a nice scratch right there. Look at that. And maybe the problem isn't too bad on this one. I mean, I see a couple more pieces of dust. Like, there's some right there. But no giant chunks. Yes. So, okay, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slabs in. All have had some sort of foreign debris in them, and a bunch of them have had decent sized scratches. All right, let's continue. And as you can see, this is me opening this up fresh. Let me raise my camera up so you can see. Fresh out of the box. So maybe some of you Beckett lovers, this might take away your doubts. I don't know. Maybe I opened the slabs and put the dust in there myself. Since I didn't unbox them live. But here's an unboxing. You saw me break the security seal and fumble my way through this. I never enjoy how they package them like this. It always kills me trying to open them. Because they put the tape, and it's also kind of like a race to see how fast I can impale myself with a knife on accident. like they wrap it in tape, so it's impossible to actually cut through it. Definitely such a premium feel, huh? We love the premium grading company. That is Beckett. All right. This one I ripped the sleeve off of. And as you can see, through this submission, I did submit a bunch of these. I bought a bunch of Houndooms. I don't know how many I actually made into this submission, but I sent a bunch of these because they were really clean. I picked out the best centered ones with the best surface and edges and stuff. And edges are looking good on this. I don't really see anything wrong with this that would knock it down to a 9.5. The centering may be a little bit off. I might say you could dink me there, but I've seen worse. They got black labels. Okay, let's start looking for some dust. How are we doing on these? This is such a dark card. It's hard to see on the camera and try to figure out where there's dust. There's one piece right there. Look right there and right there. Well, that's on the slab. This one, though, that's in the slab. It's hard to see on the front here with the lighting. Okay, here, let's just look at the back. Maybe that'll be easier on my eyes here. Piece of dust right there. That's on the card, it looks like. Now, I could understand maybe if some of these, like, might have one piece of dust every now and then, but, like, every card having dust. Look at that. It's like a pebble of dust in there. That's like, it looks like it's on the card. Is that another piece of dust? There's another piece of dust right there. I mean, this is just what I'm like. I'm trying to look through the camera and see this at the same time. And there's just, it's hard to. But oh my gosh, dude. Okay. We're going to skip this Houndoom since it was kind of hard to see the dust in the light. Kind of just skip over this one. Another 9.5. More scratches on this one. Those don't look as bad, but I think it's more of the card. Now, these right here, the Detective Pikachu reverses, it'll be easier to tell on these. This is where it's really easy to tell. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. You see that? Yes, that is a fingerprint or a smudge on the card. Look how easy. It's so easy to tell when they're just being sloppy with these cards. Now, looky here. There's a big chunk of dust right there. Big chunk of dust. Look at that, dude. It's like a pebble-sized dust. That's dust inside the card. Look, you can see it's inside the slab. Hope you're not wanting to look at the centerpiece on this card because Bulbasaur has a big chunk of dust on his head. What else is in here? You telling me a brown speck of shit is in here as well? Oh, great! I love brown specks of shit with my Bulbasaur slabs. What else we've got? Oh, brown speck of shit has his little buddy here. White speck of shit. Oh, great! And I love fingerprints on my cards. And it looks like some scratches maybe too on the inside of the slab. All right, what else? Piece of dust right here. was just on the case. But, wow, fingerprints. Another piece of dust right there. You know, I could look at these really hard for like 5 minutes a piece and really show you all the specks of dust on these. But these are just like ones that I'm catching, just quickly looking over them to show y'all. All right, next card. Let's see. Will this one have fingerprints? With your host, Hindo Collects. What are your guesses? Put in the comments. Do you think the Jigglypuff will have fingerprints? I mean, from what it seems so far, you probably got like a 50-50 shot. Let's see. Did you win the $1 million question? Man, Beckett must have lucked out on this one. They ain't got to pay out your $1 million guess. I don't see any fingerprints on this one. There's a bunch of scratches on it. Look at all these scratches on it. Wait a second. Wait a second. There is. Is that on the card? That is on the card. Ding, 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 ding! Winner, 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 winner! Jackpot, jackpot! If you guessed there was a fingerprint or a smudge, you were correct, and you win the $1 million question. It's kind of hard to show on. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That right there, that streak is inside on the card. As you can see, you see. Look at this. This is a scratch on the case. You see how it moves like this. You see how when you tilt it, you can tell it's on the cover and not on the card. And then look at this one. You see how this one is? It stays in the same place. You can tell that it's on the card because it doesn't move when the light moves and stuff. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, you won the $1 million question. All right, let's see. So my little Jigglypuff singing. I guess that's what it's doing in this one. Well, it's got a fingerprint on it, and it looks like a couple specks of dust right there. Okay, well, we got fingerprints. That's by itself pretty bad, so I'm not going to look too harder for lots of dust, but there's some more dust particles. What's that? 1, 2, 3 specks of dust all right near each other. I think that's just actually whitening that I might have missed on the edge. Okay. Charizard, will you have fingerprints? Holy shit! What is that? Are you seeing this right now? Are you seeing this shit? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? This is a professional grading company, by the way, that you send your cards to them, and they give you only 9.5. So that's besides the point. You know, you might just say I'm a bad grader. But, well, I'm not a bad grader. This is modern Japanese. Oh, they've got more dust in the case. They put more dust, and this time it's big, giant chunks. Yeah, I don't think much more needs to be said about this. I mean, this video is gonna be an hour long if I take forever on these cards. So some of the ones with the surface that it's easier to see, then we'll go over them a little bit harder than the other ones. Look at that chunk of dust inside the label. Like the label housing on the card, and there's a bunch of dust in there. Look, that's dust too. So, I mean, if you've been thinking about submitting with Beckett, you're probably playing this video in the background, I assume, listening to me. Yeah, I wouldn't because of this. This is clearly they don't care about their quality control enough. And this is something that's happened to me so many times, and I wish I would have known about this sooner instead of wasting a couple $1,000 grading with Beckett. And you know, most of their slabs I just cracked out because I didn't want to wait for them to come back fixed. But the rest of them they fixed, and I did. Yeah, I sent them off. They came back, and they fixed them. I'll go over to that in a second. But look at this on the P in Pokemon. It's not on the card, you can tell because the dust has a shadow, but it is inside the slab. So is that big chunk of white right there. So, awesome sauce. And here's the next card. The what do we got? Greninja 9.5. Love to see it. I will say the edges on some of these are a little bit harder to grade on the Japanese GXs. So it was more like a crazy shot hoping for a pristine or just a regular 10. But I sent them anyways. I never graded Japanese stuff from Detective Pikachu with Beckett before. So I figured I might try it. From what I've seen, I figured it might be easy to get some black labels on some of the full reverse holo cards. And this is speck of dust. There's a speck of dust there, and that's just me looking slightly over the cards. Put your guess in the... Now, you just saw that, right? You can't say that it's on the slab because I just pulled it straight out of the sleeve, straight out of the box. And look at these micro scratches on it, by the way. You can barely see the card on the inside because of all the micro scratches. Like, that is horrible. But, yeah, if you put in the guess that probably the rest of these Detective Pikachu reverses are going to have fingerprints on them, then you're probably right. It's hard to tell because of the freaking micro scratches. Trying to find it easily because it looks like there's fingerprints on this, but it's so hard to see. That right there, clearly a fingerprint, and look, you can see it's on the card, not a micro scratch. Oh my gosh. So needless to say, I'm never submitting with Beckett again, and I would advise everybody not to. I would, just stick to some other grading companies or whatever. We'll make a video on that later if you're more interested on who I suggest you grade with. Of course, clearly not Beckett. And here's some more dust inside the slabs, by the way. Some big old chunks. We ain't gonna go look at the back. We can already assume it's littered with dust. All right, the next box, though. What do we have? Will I have another 10, or will it... Have we only seen one 10 out here? Yeah, I'd say that's pretty bad. And I looked over these pretty hard. These are like the best Detective Pikachu cards that I pulled out of 3 boxes, like condition-wise, and I sent them to Beckett. And some of the other random stuff you saw, they were hand-selected to send to Beckett. Like best of some of the other cards I pulled. Whoa! Sorry about that. My phone fell over. Really professional setup here, huh? Let's continue to crack this baby open. And let's cut my fingers off while I'm at it. All right, I did submit some English cards. I never really submitted many English cards with Beckett before, but I figured I might try just to see, because I thought at the time that, like, ooh, I like the look of Beckett, and they look kind of cool and premium. But we'll take a look at some English cards, too, here in a minute. Here's a illustration contest 2022. The only black label I've ever gotten was one of these cards from this collection. Centering got a 9. Yeah, I guess corner to corner up here. It does look a little off-centered. Oh crap! I'm supposed to be looking for dust, not necessarily revealing these. Yeah, big chunk of dust right there. You can see. And where else is there dust on his? Is that in his mouth? There's a chunk of dust right there on his belly. Yeah, that's pretty sad how much dust is in there. And the micro scratches are kind of insane. All right, backside. Dust. Oh my goodness, big chunk of dust I cannot believe this. Oh, Detective Pikachu! Will it have fingerprints? Let's see. I think there might be some fingerprints on this one. It's just hard to see some of these. Wish I had some better lighting for you guys, but I'm just rolling with my streaming lighting. That's horrendous. You know, I've never seen anything this bad that just continuously happens with PSA or CGC. I know both those are kind of, you know, everybody hates on all the grading companies nowadays. Everybody has some kind of problem with everything. But one thing I've noticed from PSA and CGC is I never get shit like this. I never get cards back that are absolutely riddled with dust on the card or in the actual slab. And I don't think I've ever gotten a card back with a fingerprint on it from either of those companies either. And I've submitted thousands and thousands and thousands of cards with them. It's very hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure there might be a fingerprint in here. It's hard to tell, though. Yeah, we ain't gonna look at these very hard, though, Marty. Like, this is passing quality control. Look, you look at the back of this. What's the first thing you notice? This giant chunk of dust on the corner. Look, now you can't unsee it. Now, you really think buyers are going to buy cards like this from me that have fingerprints and giant chunks of dust that are so big that that's all you can see when you look at the card? You think people are going to buy this shit from me? No. People aren't going to buy a Charmander with a speck of dust this big in it. All right. One of my favorite cards from... Sorry for coughing so much. Just been talking for a minute now without a drink of water. Looks like that's on the actual surface of the slab. Is that on the surface of the slab or is that inside? Oh my gosh, that's awful. If that's inside, that's horrible. Yeah, it's like inside, but on the surface. It's like in the slab, but it's up against the inside of it, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's pretty bad. What else we got on here? Looks like a couple more specks of dust every now and then across the card. It looks like there's might be some up here. Yeah, some specks of dust on the corners. I mean, if you really took a look at these, you could probably find like twice as much as I'm finding. And there's another speck of dust. What else? Okay. What else we got? Let's skip to some English. Ooh, let's skip to these two. Actually, no, we'll save these for the end. How about that? All right, next. Next up. This is such a small label compared to the other ones. Like with less wording. The best. Oh, I guess this one had first edition. This one doesn't. Japanese. This one doesn't say it's Japanese. I don't know why sometimes they have these inconsistencies where like this card's labeled as Japanese, and of course Best of X and Y is clearly a Japanese set, but it's not labeled Japanese, and Pokemon never had an English set. So, you know, stuff like that's kind of annoying. I don't know why they would not both have Japanese put on them. But let's see, anything wrong with this one? Again, these EXs are a little bit hard to see in the light. I was about to say this one doesn't look too bad, and then there is some dust right here. And giant dust right there. Again, excuse my coughing. Holy crap. And we've got some scratches. And this is a harder surface to see. Some of these are harder surfaces where you can't exactly see the dust as easily, but you know it's there because it's also all over the backs. Like, look, 1, I think that one looks like it's on the card, and then these two are on the sleeve. Decent chunks of dust. It's just, there's another chunk. Let's see if we can find any on the front. Can we find any on the front? I mean, there's a scratching, and that scratching is actually on the inside of the slab. It appears like on the inside, not on the outside of the slab. I just explained that twice. So we do have scratching inside the slab. That's great. Take a sip of water real quick. I lied. I lied. I was drinking energy drink. All right, next. It looks like the label's scratched on this one. You got one job, and it's to have metal labels, and that passes quality control. And the thing is, my lighting isn't the best for making YouTube videos. But look, you can see it right there. Look how bad I put my fingerprint on it that time. These scratch so easily. Okay. Was that even from me? Look, you can see it's in the light here. Good night! All this dust making me cough. Let's see. Again, these surfaces are just extremely hard to see some of the more detailed parts of the card. There's a piece of dust right there. I'm not gonna look hard on that one. All right, here's two of my favorite cards I submitted in here. Here's a Charizard from In the Intense Fight in the Destroyed Sky. This is one of my this is probably one of my personal favorite Charizards. This one didn't have a crease, but again, I wanted to see the look of a Beckett slab on something epic like this. Let's see if we can spot anything wrong. Looks like everything might be decent on this one. There's a speck of dust in the label. But we're looking for bigger chunks. It's hard to tell because there's actually dust on the card too. Well, not dust on the card, but stuff on the card. Like, I think that was probably on the card when I submitted it. Stuff like that wasn't, though. That is... yeah, it's not on the card. That's in it. There's a chunk of dust right there. Alright. Oh, holy crap! I know this is great audio to listen to, me just sitting here and coughing the entire time, so we're just going to finish up the video. This was pretty bad. And I'm actually going to show y'all the slabs that Beckett fixed for me. Like the ones that I submitted, well, I sent back to them and forced them to redo because they messed them all up. I'll show y'all what they did to some of them, just so you can see. And now the ones I'm going to show you, they were originally, like, the Beckett did a horrendous job. They ended up putting a bunch of labels crooked, labeled a bunch of stuff just completely wrong. And that's one thing I didn't check, was to see if any of these were labeled incorrectly. But I had a bunch that had come in that weren't labeled right. And, I mean, it's a little bit harder to tell on this one since it's an English one. But you get the point. You could really see it on the cards like the Detective Pikachu cards. But there's more dust. There's a big scratch on the back. This wasn't laying on another slab in the box. Well, actually it was. I forgot. This one wasn't at the bottom originally, but that's still pretty bad. I don't think I put that on there. This is a pretty card. 8.5. I'm actually kind of satisfied with that. I thought this was a cool Pikachu. Got in pretty solid condition. And to finish it off, I'm going to show off one of the cards that Beckett re-slabbed for me and supposedly fixed. This is one that I have not yet listed on eBay or cracked out. But yeah, you can tell that they really fixed the dust problem on this, huh? And this isn't just a problem that happened on the Skyla, but a problem that happened on a bunch of other ones that were supposed to be fixed, but actually ended up being worse on return. If you see, those are actually on the card. And look, Surface 10, if you know anything about these cards, the full Japanese reverse are extremely, extremely easy to scratch. So even though this got a 10, it's probably not a 10 surface anymore. Even if you take this out of the sleeve, wipe off the dust, put it back in here, yeah, you probably ruin the surface. And there were other cards that didn't have this delicate of a surface that also had this same problem. But look, dude, here, let me make sure I get all the extra bits and pieces off. But those pieces right there are all dust on the surface of the card. And this is what the reholdering does for you. So even if you get them fixed, you wait almost an entire year to even get the whole process complete of them answering you back through emails and then processing your actual cards to reholder. Yeah, some of them they don't even actually fix when they reholder. So most of them they did a decent job at most of them. But, you know, I would expect after you make such a huge catastrophic failure of doing so many mistakes over many different submissions that you would actually fix the cards. And, they didn't. So, as you have seen, I am no longer grading with Beckett. You shouldn't either. It is a complete waste of money. The black label is just, the chase is not there for some cards. Even ultra modern Japanese. I know there wasn't a bunch of like super modern. I guess, you know, X and Y is still considered modern, but it isn't super modern. Even when you send in super modern Japanese, like I do, I pick the best of the best out of literally hundreds and thousands of cards that I sort through all the time to send to Beckett. That doesn't even mean that you're going to get black label. So you're basically gambling for something that's near impossible. It just depends on whether the grader wants to give you one that day or not. And you're also basically guaranteed to get some shitty slabs back full of dust or scratches or being completely mislabeled as different cards. So that's it. Hopefully, look, I'm finally back on YouTube. I hate this has to be my first video back on. But, you know, hopefully we can keep the ball rolling and actually get some quality, more educational type videos and maybe teach y'all some things. And I'll charge $1 million for a course. I know a lot of y'all wanted me to talk about the course that some people were selling. But yeah, next video, hopefully about grading in a better light. Bye-bye.